Okay, here we go. This is our trip on the Chesapeake and Ohio Canal towpath. Runs along the Potomac. We started in Harper's Ferry, left our car there, and rode to Washington, D.C., where we took Amtrak back with our bikes and luggage. This is the beginning at the National Park. This is the headquarters, which is about a mile or two from actual Harper's Ferry. Very nice facilities. This is where we parked, and they said it was fine. You know, you park for 4 days. We just left the information on the dashboard so they could see it, and unloaded the bikes and then rode into town. It's all downhill into town, so that was fun. It's a very steep hill. Well, there I am getting used to the trailer with all the equipment. We had to bring pillows, sheets. We had a couple of small coolers full of ice, and we had to keep the rosé chilled. Here comes Barbara down the hill. I guess we all had pretty good brakes, because this was very steep. Really nice town. We stopped and had lunch in this outdoor place. These garden ornaments, about 4 feet high. Pretty cool. There I am smiling already. Really a great setting, Harper's Ferry. That's the arsenal that John Brown raided, what's left of it. It didn't survive the Civil War. This is the confluence of the Potomac straight ahead and the Shenandoah on the right. And so this beautiful trestle. Do we get to ride over that? Oh, yes, we do. There's the bike trail going over to the Maryland side of the Potomac. Really nice. It's just spectacular. These big rock cliffs. There's another old train trestle, the footings. You look up on the hill there, there's some kind of old billboard, but we couldn't make out what it said. This is an active train trestle. There's the tubers, and I don't mean potatoes. And then we were very surprised with this staircase. We never imagined that we'd have to deal with a staircase. So we had to unload the trailer and drag the stuff down. It took a few minutes. Then at the bottom, we looked up and we heard the train coming out of the tunnel, a freight train. It was pretty impressive. Here it is just coming out the engine. Then we hit the trail. It was pretty much like this through the woods. First thing we passed was another train tunnel. We actually came through this tunnel on the way back when we took Amtrak back. There's the trail and the tunnel. Here's Barbara stopping near some very nice stonework. A lot of really nice stonework up here. Most of the trail was like this. It was through the woods, usually pretty wide, sometimes single track. This is our first cottage. We had to go in and open up all the shutters and put in all the screens. Handicap accessible with an outhouse. No electricity, no plumbing, no running water. But very nice. Very, very nice. Historical photos all over the walls, and there was a table full of books about the history of the canal. Really great books. Very comfortable. It's very cool. I was afraid it was going to be hot. Not real buggy outside. Not real buggy. There's the empty trailer. And, you know, because it runs right along the Potomac and there was no plumbing, we did go bathe in the river, rinse ourselves off every day, that was a real lifesaver. Because the river was very easy to access. It was right behind the cottages, and the bottom was very nice, sandy, you know, a little muddy, but pretty nice bottom. Water was cool. It's cool. This is the path back to the cottage. And then we headed into, there was a little town nearby. Not really a town, but there was a place to eat. For most of the trip, there was the train line runs right along it. There it is, the deli on the rocks. Actually, food was okay. Real greasy spoon. It was okay. There's a beautiful train station here. The sign says one of the most photographed train stations in the world. Look at that. It was pretty nice. There it is in the evening light. So when we got back, I got a flat tire on the way back, so I had to walk back. It's only a mile or two, and I took another dip. In the morning, we saw the commuter train go by the house several times. That's not the Amtrak. And we headed out again. Every now and then there's a campground where you can stay, you can pitch a tent and stay along the trail, and there's a pump for water and a porta potty. A very beautiful pump, and it worked. But they're treated with iodine, which it was okay. It didn't taste terrible, but you did taste it. So here's another, this canal house is not open for overnights. This was a very beautiful stretch. See, we're down to single track here. And then we stopped. This was the most spectacular structure. It was a long aqueduct that's actually been restored. It's just amazing. It's, the canal went over this bridge full of water and canal boats, and that's a lot of weight. Here's the signage. Nice little painting with the canal boats. The canal boats actually carried the family in the front and 2 or 3 or 4 mules in the back. They had their own little house. And these here, these are metal staples holding the stonework together. So you see the water was inside that trough there. That was the canal. That was full of water, and that would take the boats over these rivers. This was a very nice stretch where the canal goes alongside a rock face of a cliff. Really beautiful, really beautiful. It looks like a stone wall, but it's actually just cut into the side of the hill. Carting this trailer, which was, it was pretty heavy, was an experience. It showed me what it was like to be a mule carting along the canal boats. Barbara got some nature shots here. I love these ducks. And look at that duckweed, huh? There we go. Guess they got a little nervous. And you got this great big turtle. Beautiful picture of a turtle in a log with some plants growing around. A little noisy here. I'm doing this in the afternoon around 3 o'clock. So it's kind of surreal. You just pedal and pedal and pedal. We did like about 5 hours of pedaling every day. And kind of zen. This is a big old tree. This must have been a big old tree when they built the canal house. It was about 200 years ago. So this tree could be 300-400 years old. It's just about down. That's actually a canal bed on the left there, full of trees now. Many places the canal bed's dry. Now here I am checking out some ruins. I read later these were ruins of granaries where the farmers would bring the grain, store it here, and then they would load it into the canal boats to take to the city. Mostly these canal boats carry coal and agricultural products. Most of the trail was shady, which was nice. We had really great weather. So here we are at White's Ferry. It's the only ferry still operating over the Potomac River. So it goes from the Maryland side over to the Virginia side. And there was a little place here to get a sandwich. There it is. It's a cable ferry. You see the cable on the right that pulls the ferry back and forth. The strange thing is it's named after a trader. It's General Jubal, who took up arms against his own United States government. It's incredible. So if you look on the wall there under the attic window, you see the flood levels of various floods right up to that attic window. It's amazing. It's hard to understand the amount of water in these floods. Look at it. It's like halfway up those trees. Just incredible. I thought it was amazing. So we stopped here, sat at the picnic table. You either have to buy some food or you have to pay $5 rent to get a pass to use the tables. So this is, now we get to our second cottage. This was accessible by a road because there was a boat ramp here. There's the lock on the left. So the lock keeper would live in here and he would be available 24/7 to let the boats through. There were some interesting ruins. This brick ruin, we figured, there was no sign, but it looks like they just kind of stabilized it and turned it into a kind of a sculpture. It was nice. So we sat down and had our chilled wine. Definitely worth hauling the ice so that you have a nice cool glass of wine at the end of the day. Barbara had a little first aid kit for my blisters. My sandals gave me blisters, and this is where we swam at this cottage. This is at the end of the boat ramp. Very nice bottom. That's Virginia on the other side. Very nice. Boy, this really saved us. If we weren't able to do this, I think we would be quite cranky, all sticky and sweaty. We had a little trouble getting in because the caretakers hadn't changed the combination. They change it after each visit, and they had not got there yet. But we eventually got in. This is another very nice cottage. Again, no electricity, no running water. The beds were very comfortable. This one here was horrible, but Matt said he loved it. This is the one he loved. Then we rode up to a town. We rode like 4 or 5 miles uphill to a little town to have dinner. There's Washington Post land here. I don't see New York Times. Came into this little town of Poolsville, I think it's called. And we passed a refrigerator that said live bait or bait. So this is what they use for bait, I guess. And we had dinner at this pretty good Mexican. It wasn't bad. It was really a step up from most Mexican. Went back for another swim back at the cottage. Barbara got these two. Look at this great picture. Barbara took this. It's the best picture of the trip for both of us. And there's the sun going down at our cottage. And I had brought along some little headlamps, so we'd have something to do since there's no internet. So this is obviously the next morning because you see the sun shining from the east low onto the cottage. And we got back on the trail. Did about 20 miles a day, which was just about enough for me. We went slow because I couldn't go more than about 6 or 7 miles an hour with the load. Barbara liked that. She liked going slow, and Matt would just go ahead, and we'd meet him about every hour. He'd stop like every 5 miles, and we'd meet. This is called Little Falls on the Potomac. We were passed by this group of bikers. Of course, they were going much faster than us. And then we got to our first operating lock. This lock actually works. You can see the water sifting through it. And those big boards there, which are used to open the locks. Of course, this lock had a lock on it, so we couldn't open it. there's Matt demonstrating how it's done. This lock house also is not open for visitors. I believe this was the one where Grover Cleveland used to come out of Washington to fish. This one also is not open to the public, but this one had some facilities. They had a water fountain that you had to pump with a pedal, and a spigot that you had to pump with your hand. This water was not treated with iodine, but you did have to pump it with that nice metal pedal. And there's the hand pump. You had to pump that handle there. Water was nice and cool. So this was our first full day of riding. First day we only did 12 miles. I think this day we're doing 20. Yeah, that's the Grover Cleveland cottage where the president used to go fishing. And then we stopped at this place here. We met these two people who were traveling doing union organizing. They were doing the bike trail with their little dog. They came from Detroit, and they were riding to Philly, and then they were going to New York and Florida. This had a nice museum in it. And they told us, oh, you'll have to go to the Great Falls because it's microclimate. So this is the Great Falls. It was very spectacular and beautiful. This must be something in the spring after the snow melt. So most of the trip, the river I read was about 1,500 feet wide or 1,700 feet wide, and at this point it goes down to 250 feet wide. And thus you have all these waterfalls. Most of the river is very flat. Most of it. I'll be back to this place. And then after the falls, it went through this incredibly beautiful, it was like a mile-long grotto. They actually had a plaque for William Law, Frederick Law Olmsted, the guy who designed Central Park. He was impressed by this when he saw it. It looks like it's landscaped and created for beauty, but it's actually just the canal going through a rocky section. Pictures don't do this justice. These are magical place. They offer canal boat rides along here, so all the locks work. The canal's full of water. It's just very rocky. It reminds me of Rhode Island, kind of the way it looks, these rocks. It's a beautiful little island. And then we stopped at our only shishi restaurant we did the whole trip. It was a very nice place, had pretty good food. Had a good burger. A couple of cocktails. Then we got back on the trail. Around this point I got one of my cables broke. Oh, this is a great sequence. The blue heron that Barbara captured somewhere. It's quite a poser. All the angles. Then we get to our final cottage. This is the third cottage. This is the one with running water, shower, central air, complete kitchen. This is like 1950s. Funny, we didn't get any pictures inside. I don't know why. It's kind of a cranky night. I was kind of cranky because I lost my gears, so I was riding kind of an uncomfortable gear. Here we are at the end in Georgetown, which I guess used to be industrial along the canal. Industrial. tanning and stuff like that. And now it's all shishi. And I asked a guy about that's a great picture of that. It's canal boat hat. Kind of looked like the hats they wore in the 1820s. I asked the guy, is there a bike store? He goes, oh yeah, right, just a block away. This is the canal boat. And there's the bicycle shop. They fixed my bike right away. And I had a Turkish soda. And then Barbara led us through the capital. She used to live there, so she knew the bike trails and stuff. So we have several patriotic shots of us. Lots of tourists. And then we got lunch before we got on the train. We found this really good kind of fast food Asian. Food was pretty good. I don't know why I was making that face. The food was good. And Matt had this really great grapefruit soda. It was really, really good. That's outside the restaurant. This is just 2 blocks from Union Station. Here we are in the station. It's been totally renovated. Beautiful, beautiful. Lots of high-end shopping, restaurants. Very nice. Very, very nice. And we got in line, and they put us all in the observation car. They actually assigned us to go there. They told us that's where we had to sit. Very comfortable. Nice big windows. Very relaxing. Barbara had some cookies. There she is. The ghostly Barbara. And then at one point we actually went by one of the cottages we stayed in, that first cottage, with the train. Remember, the train went right by the cottage. There it is. That was our cottage the first night. So then, we were very pleasantly surprised because we found out the conductor asked us to go help him in the baggage car move the bikes around. So, of course, we were all about that. And he was really funny. And we had to shuttle all the bikes around to get our bikes out. So we got to ride the baggage car for a while, which is, every 12-year-old boy's dream. And they drop us out on the tracks in Harper's Ferry. And luckily we didn't have to take the trailer apart. They let us bring the whole trailer on the train. And we just had to carry it back across the tracks. So this is the terminus. This is the end of our trip. We had to get back to our car. There's that tunnel. So we, hooked up the trailer and we rode over to the bus. Matt took the bus back to the car and then he brought the car down. Nice old station. So we got directions from the bus driver, what to do, where to park the car, to load it. Yeah, there was a beautiful old rebuilt trestle here. Here we are. Bidding a fond farewell to Harper's Ferry, West Virginia. Oh, so now I've been to West Virginia. Add another state to my roster. Never been in West Virginia. And we put the bikes back up and had a sleepy ride home to Pottstown. It was a great trip. Really great trip. I think we'll be back to do more of it because, this bike trail goes from Washington to Pittsburgh. So there's a lot of riding there. Someone told us there's a 20-mile stretch in Pennsylvania all downhill. 20 miles. I think we'll have to do that.